And let's move on to the next item. Item B, please.
Item 6B, adopt resolution approving appointments to the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors.
City Manager.
Good afternoon, Council. Item that is before you tonight is to consider the appointment of 3 members to the San Bruno Community Foundation. As you know, the San Bruno Community Foundation was set up from monies from $70 million that was received from PG&E from the settlement with regard to the Crestmore explosion. And so we currently have 3 board members from the foundation whose seats expire on December 31st, 2019. And so what's before you is to appoint 3 members to 4-year terms that will begin January 1, 2020 and end on December 31st, 2023. In addition, another action is before you. One of the expiring board terms was held by Dr. Regina Stanback-Stroud, the president of Skyline College. With her retirement from Skyline College, her seat is currently vacant. And so what's being asked of you is to appoint 3 members to the 4-year term, but also consider appointing one of those 3 members to begin immediately to serve the term that is being expired by Dr. Regina Stanback-Stroud. And so one question you may be considering that if you do that, will that prevent one of the 3 from serving 2 consecutive terms, which is allowed under the bylaws? The answer is no. You have to serve more than half of the expiring term for that to count as a full term. So if you appoint someone to serve from now until December 31st, 2019, that person can still serve for 2 4-year terms. And so there are 3 expiring seats. One was held by Frank Headley, Patricia Bottom, and Dr. Regina Stanback-Stroud. All 3 individuals were appointed initially on October 2013 for 2-year terms. They were then reappointed in late 2015 for 4-year terms, and again, those terms expired December 31st, 2019. And so the San Bruno Community Foundation is a unique organization where the City Council appoints the board members, and the board members hire an executive director that reports directly to the board, not the City Council. The bylaws do not outline a process by which the city will follow to appoint members to the board. And so earlier this year, the executive director consulted with me on what process should be followed with a request that the foundation do an initial interview of the potential candidates and make a recommendation to the city council. That process was conducted. The foundation followed all of the city's normal practices that would be followed should the city clerk had done the announcement. And so that was handled by the foundation and the executive director. It was announced. A total of 7 individuals applied. The foundation conducted interviews and made a recommendation of 3 individuals. At this point, I will ask Frank Headley from the foundation to come up and talk a little bit about their process and the 3 people that they are recommending that be appointed to the 4-year term.
Mr. Headley.
Good evening. All of you I know because you've worked with me or I've worked for you, so however that goes. But I'm currently the president of the San Bruno Community Foundation, and I am pleased to present to you the process. What underwent in collaboration with the city manager based on the input that we had through him talking to the council about the process that we would want to use. We did an in-depth community reach to get applicants to step forward. We used emails, we used a variety of different internet the city's webpage, and we had 7 applicants that came to us in that process. After we spread all the news and we got all the applications together, we have an ad hoc committee from the board that was appointed to conduct the background interviews. And we particularly left out myself, Pat Baum, and Dr. Regina Standback-Stroud, and wanted to have people who would be actively continuing on the board to work with coming up with interviewing and recommending to the full board recommendations to fill those vacancies that we gave to you. The committee considered, in the context of the entire board, the skills, experience, education, qualities, and other qualifications that it identified as needs on the board based on the foundation's current programs, finances, other activities, and stage of organizational development. What they were particularly looking for was what's the extent of the individual's civic engagement, San Bruno engagement, commitments to the San Bruno Community Foundation's mission, professional, volunteer, personal experience and expertise, interpersonal skills and ability to cultivate relationships and convene, facilitate and build consensus among diverse individuals, and for the ability to meet the time commitment required of board members. The committee considered the assets also of what board members had to offer and what we would be losing when the 3 board members were termed out. The committee also discussed a strong desire to have a board that reflects the diversity of the San Bruno community. As a result of that, the 7 people were interviewed. The committee did a very thorough and analysis and thoughtful deliberations and viewed all of that, reviewed all of the application, reviewed their resumes, reviewed all of those things in relationship to what we were looking for. In that, they came to the board with a recommendation, and those recommendation was for to advance forward to you for consideration the name of Jim Ruane, Natalie Natani, and Raul Gomez. The remaining applicants were all well-qualified individuals. There wasn't one of those to which you might not look forward to the opportunity to have them serve on the board in the future. And in the future, there will be that opportunity because as the next couple of years go by, there'll be more opportunities to replace people on the board. And it was not a simple decision. It was a very thorough and thoughtful analysis, trying to meet the standards that we had set when we asked the committee to convene an interview. With that, that's how we got through the process. It was not an easy process. It was very time-consuming, very laborious on the analysis. And I think in the final, we have presented to you a recommendation representing what we feel most meets the future needs over the next several years for the board.
Okay. So the item that's before council is to adopt a resolution approving the appointments to the San Bruno Community Foundation and select one of the appointees to serve the remainder of the current open term from now until December 31st. There are 2 alternatives. The City Council can decide to select other candidates to designate for the appointment based on the existing applications, or the City Council can direct staff to engage in a different evaluation process to select applicants for the board. And so that would likely be a process where the council would conduct additional interviews.
Thank you. We do have a speaker's card, so we can.
Terry Chavez.
Olivia, I won't talk 3 minutes. Just one. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Terry Chavez. On a sidebar note, I want to thank Nancy Krause for mentioning the wonderful work of our school board. And I've had the pleasure of meeting with the new superintendent, Dr. Sharon Camberg, and I hope that everyone can attend the meet and greet on September 3rd. Regarding this action item, I just wanted to make a comment, although you've done a great job of answering my questions before I came up here. So many of them are already answered. Let me review this real quickly. Local community involvement. I believe local community involvement is the cornerstone of our democracy. And I'm grateful for such an active community here in San Bruno. I was going to ask how this selection process was different than our other committees and commissions and why, but you've done a great job of explaining your process. I guess my other question is, can the number of board members be expanded to achieve further community involvement and diversity? And my other question was, when the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors was originally brought together, I assume it was the City Council that voted and appointed those members, but it seems like now we have a different process. So I was just asking more questions about the process and if it's different than the other committees and commissions that we have and why, but I think you've done a great job of explaining that. So I guess my last question would still be, can we expand the number of board members to achieve even further community involvement and further diversity within our community? Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. So I think the question that came back was about the current makeup as far as the numbers on the body that serves. Can it be expanded? I know there's bylaws and it's filed with the state and all of that, but do you know by chance, or is that something you have to get back to?
It's my understanding that the bylaws in this organization do not allow for amendment by the council. It's going to require the foundation board actually to push through something like that. I could be wrong on that, and I get back to you on that question, but that wouldn't be something that's before you tonight that you can do.
No, that's not before us, but
Yeah.
I would agree, and even in the other bodies, they would usually come up and say, we wish that. But can it come right to the council, or does it have to go to the state since it's a 501c3 and there's those type of, it's different than the regular committees and commissions?
The state does not have to entertain that type of a bylaw change. It'd just be a vote of the board.
Okay.
Through the chair?
Thank you for asking that.
Just from a historical perspective, thinking back to when we had the discussion about how many members should be on the foundation, we did have a consultant come in that worked with us in developing, and I believe it was determined at that time that a body that was too large would not be as effective, and so the size that we chose, it was really, we did consider smaller and larger bodies at the time, and we felt that this number of people would be the most effective in achieving consensus and moving our dental forward. So,
thank you. Also, I'd like to remind people that they conduct public meetings and they listen to anyone who comes. So if you want to participate, you want to find out what's going on at the foundation, you're always welcome. The agenda, I believe, is published online, and you can come and participate and discuss with them.
Okay. All right, so thank you for your comments. Question. Is there anybody else in the audience who wanted to speak on this item? We don't have any speaker cards, but I wanted to double check. Okay, Marty.
I just pulled up the bylaws, and it says here, Section 3, the authorized number of directors shall be by an odd number, not fewer than 5, and not more than 11, as determined by action of the City Council.
If I'm hearing that correctly, that's the process you're undertaking tonight to appoint new members. It's not the number that the bylaws contain. It's the action that you're taking that you appoint. And I could try to pull that up on a device here to see if you'd like some further interpretation while you further discuss that.
No, I think what the council member might be just saying, that there was a provision within there, what he read, was to say no fewer than 5, no greater than 11, must be odd. And I think what council member Salazar was indicating is we had somebody that came in and said, you start getting 10, 11 people, or it has to be odd, 11 people. And when I was way back when on a committee, crime prevention committee, with Carolyn Livingood and Mike Kaiser and we had, I think, 14 members, 13 members, and we were there late. Not as late as the council meeting on July 9th, but we were there late. So, but anyway, so yes, before us is about the appointments to fill the board with the expired terms, and then fill Dr. Strauss's position. So any other questions or comments on the appointments that are before us from the board? From the foundation, sorry.
Usually it's not the council. Let's see if I can find the bylaws here.
To the chair. So I just wanted to say thank you, Frank Headley, for your presentation. I appreciate that. I myself feel that it's really the best interest of the council to support the recommendation of the foundation. I think you know best in terms of the team of people that you have and what you need. You know, I'm looking at some of the candidates, and I think they're probably all well qualified. In fact, it's probably a very difficult decision actually to choose from one to another. But I think an important point that was made that I think is really important, and that is that every candidate comes with a certain skill set and knowledge and experience, and it's about picking those people with those right or certain skill sets to make that team to fill a hole. And so, you know, one member might be just as qualified as another, but they come with a certain skill set that the other might have. So I appreciate the presentation, and I support the recommendations.
Irene?
I have a procedural question. It says here that we're supposed to decide who fills the extra 6 months.
Dr. Strauss, yes.
Okay. Is there anything that precludes us from having the board itself decide, or the people who are volunteering? Some people may not be ready, may not be able to do the extra 6 months. I mean,
Sure. I'm not sure that your responsibility can be delegated to the board.
Okay.
But the foundation did check with each of the 3 members that they're recommending, and each of the 3 are willing to serve immediately if need be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just one quick comment, just that I know going back to the very beginning, one of the things that I felt very strongly about was that the foundation should be independent of the council. And so I commend staff and the foundation members on developing a process that I think was true to that philosophy, and I definitely support the process you went through. I think it was effective. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank the outgoing members for their service. Although you're not done yet, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say, you know, I definitely appreciate everyone who stepped up at that time. It was and still is a very emotional part of the healing process that we were going through after the explosion and fire. But just wanted to take that opportunity to thank you, and I definitely support the process, and I think you've chosen some excellent candidates. So that's all.
Marty?
I respect all people who apply, and I definitely respect all the work that has been already completed by the foundation. I'm a little uneasy about the process. Actually, I wasn't involved when the original directors were appointed. I looked over, and I think we have an outstanding group of applicants. I know some of them personally. I just think that interviewing the applicants would have been nice, and it's just a little awkward for me from the previous ways that we appoint all our boards and commissions, that where we get the applicants and we interview them all, and in 2 weeks we make a decision. But I also understand the differences of what and the independence that is here, and so I'm just a little uncomfortable with that of not interviewing or getting to know all the applicants better than as I probably should if I'm going to accept a recommendation or make a decision that lies within the city council's power. So I think the majority of the hardest work has been completed and remain grateful for that work. I would like to see the possibility of exploring and in including additional members, not 11, definitely not 14 because you can't, but going to 9 would be or 7 because right now it's 5. So I'm sorry, 7 going to 9, right in the middle of that range, would be adding to the reach throughout the community, and also include more input throughout the community. So I see that, but I wanted to share that I just have some unease with this at this point.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Can I ask a question to Frank Headley? And you can maybe come to the mic. So it's one of the same comments we say at a lot of the boards and commissions, and when the candidates don't get appointed to the position, they're all open meetings and you can attend. So what kind of attendance are you getting from the public at your monthly meetings?
Well, there are more people here tonight than except when we award the scholarships and we give out money. Our attendance is very small by and large, but I don't attribute that to disinterest. I attribute that to the fact that when we create programs, the programs are well spelled out. The programs come from all of the public input that we've received during our processes. And I think that the processes that the board has used to arrive at awarding the scholarships, awarding the grants, we've actually, in all honesty, we've had almost no feedback in a negative way, because we've tried to be a little more egalitarian to the extent that if there's a program out there that seems right and we can fit it in, we'll find a way to get it done if we have the money to do it. So the people who bring to our attention their ideas are given serious thought, and we try to find ways to accommodate them. I think most of you know the programs that we've dealt with out in the community with the American Legion and the Lions Club and other people. We try to work it. We've had people who've made applications but couldn't complete the project, wanted to change the project. Hey, our best interest is to serve the community, so what we end up with is we'll adopt the program to accommodate the need that needs to be filled. I'd like to add one comment about, I understand the feeling about expanding out of board. I just want to keep in mind that of the $70 million, the vast majority of that money will have been spent when we get to the recreation and aquatic center. After that, it'll be pretty much a reduced operation from the standpoint that remaining money would be used for the programs and what have you. And at that point, we need to reduce our cost and the things that are involved in it, and it'll be a much less complex organization. When we created it, the council created it with 7 people in mind, we had to start from scratch and work our way through finding where we were, establishing what the programs would be. That took an inordinate amount of time. People are welcome to come to the meetings. Nobody's ever been turned away or turned down. It's just never been a difficult environment. People have presented their ideas. Our executive director has taken the time to go work with them individually and come back with a response that we can try to accommodate things. So when you start to get in with a larger number of people, it's harder to get all those people to arrive and get a majority. So you have people who can attend the meetings. So I think that ought to take a little more thought. I think the thought was that 7 people,
You only have 5 council people. If you want more diversity, you could add 2 more council people. I mean, and how complex do you want to get it? It's almost unwieldy. As I said, all of the people who were applicants, nobody was denied. We've sent you the list. We've given our recommendation because of the fit that we think is appropriate at this time. And in a couple of more years, there'll be more opportunity for people to come. And those people who were interested, we have lots of things that we could ask them to help us with. So as we move down the line, those people stay interested, the opportunity would be there for you to appoint them. Does that answer your question?
Excellent, and you did it fully. Excellent, and you did that fully. Thank you so much.
And Mr. Headley, I think our city manager would love the concept of 2 more council members to deal with.
I could have used 2 more couple weeks ago.
That thought crossed people's mind when I was city manager too, and I know exactly what he's thinking. It might be somebody else's best interest, but when you have 7, 9, 11 bosses, it gets a little more challenging each and every day.
So unless there's something else, I was going to say on the number, though it is listed, what we do have is our committee, commissions, and boards that currently meet, and if they felt there was a need to increase because of participation, sometimes we've talked about in our preparedness or crime prevention, that has come up, that usually the group, the folks that are currently on the board, will assess that need and then come forward to council to ask for modification to the bylaws. And I think that's where it should begin. It should begin at the foundation board to discuss that, and if they feel the need, then that's fine. And Mr. Salazar, you are absolutely correct as far as the separation. You made that abundantly clear when we embarked upon this. And it was to a point that, to me, it's like, why don't they have a cubicle at City Hall or something? And their determination was no. We want it very separated from City Hall. We don't want it to be at all even perceived. We are independent with the oversight of that restitution fund and to meet the needs of this community. And so that there was something good that came out of it from that devastation that took 8 of our residents' lives. So it has been kept very impartial and not political. And that was something that you were very adamant about, and I remember that. And so I also know that the board has now done a lot of the heavy lifting, and the foundation has gotten us to a point, and you are right, Mr. Headley, it will start to scale back. And so for me, I think you folks at this point have walked it, proven it, you've done it, and I'm prepared to have confidence in the recommendation of the volunteers that have served in the capacity and may know best. Any other discussion from council?
Through the chair.
Michael.
I guess before we introduce the resolution, there is a blank line in there that we need to fill in. So I wanted to recommend that we appoint Jim Ruane to fill the early vacancy that's going to be created.
Can we do it all at once, or may I make a suggestion that we appoint to be affirmed who we're appointing, if we're going to adopt the resolution, and then out of those 3 that are appointed, then we appoint one of those.
Well, the resolution had the blank line in it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's all
there's a
one
blank line, and Michael, thank you for thinking ahead.
Yeah, no.
All right, so please, City Attorney.
I I took a look at the bylaws just to clarify on that one issue, and there is a provision, and it looks like there's some discretion by the city council, should you want to take that up at a future meeting, the issue of whether or not to expand. It looks like there's some discretion there. And then there's an interesting hybrid that to amend the bylaws, it requires both the majority of the board of directors and then approval by the city council. So it's definitely a hybrid situation. But it appears from my reading that it looks like there is some discretion in the council on the number, but obviously you'd have to agendize that, and then we'd confirm that, checking with your city attorney on that issue.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that so quickly. All right, so Mr. Salazar, are you introducing the resolution to appoint the 3 members that the foundation board has set forth, in addition to appointing Mr. Ruane to start immediately for the unexpired term of Dr. Strauss?
If that's how we want to proceed, I didn't know if we wanted to have discussion on who should be in the blank line before we actually approve it, but if there is no discussion, then I will.
Discussion from council in regards to the blank line that we need to fill in.
I would just comment, I would think that, I think that former Mayor Rain has an idea about this board, and I think we'll probably get up to speed much quicker than probably some of the other newer candidates, so that might be a good suggestion in terms of the other candidates coming in together where they can kind of get up to speed together without the knowledge that former Mayor Jim Ruane has, so.
Yeah. Okay. There's no other comments, and is you going to introduce the
Then I will
result?
make a motion to approve the
Thank you.
resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion, Melissa?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Medina?
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar?
Aye.
Vice Mayor O'Connell?
Aye.
Mayor Medina?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Congratulations to all three of you. I very much appreciate.
We'd just like to make sure that everybody here knows who they are.
Oh, well, we do, but yes, do you mind?
I think everybody knows Jim Ruane.
Well, just in case.
Can we come to the podium? So
No, let's, go ahead.
And, they can hear. Anyhow, the other new board members will be Raul Gomez and Melissa Natani.
Thank you, Melissa. Congratulations to all three. Thank you for stepping forward in addition to the other candidates. And according to what you already have done, thank you for that. And what you're about to do, thank you for that as well.